mortgages are boring, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. You ready?
Yep.
Social Genius. We are back for another episode, and this time it's going to look a little different. If you're looking at us, if you're listening to us, you're only going to hear one usual voice because the other one is not here. But I brought two voices with me, and they are friends in the industry, and they have a pretty awesome story that I want to share. But first, let me introduce them. Many of you already know who these people are. They're known as the Mortgage Mentor on TikTok, also known as Rebecca Richardson, as well as the Mortgage Creator, who used to be Mortgages Are Boring, also known as Nate Fain. And we've got some cool updates to share. But both of these people have grown big audiences and doing some big things with TikTok and really actually other platforms as well. So let's start before I clue them in as to really why you're here. Just kind of an introduction. I know I've interviewed both of you, but it's been a while. Ladies first, Rebecca, who the hell are you? And tell us kind of about your progression and what turned you on to TikTok and what helped you grow and all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. So who the hell am I? That's quite the lead in. I'll jump forward to, I started doing video content in, I would say 2018, 2019, started to just experiment with it a little bit more beyond, kind of having evergreen videos on YouTube to essentially, to embed them into emails. So in late 2019, my teenage daughter was on TikTok. And so trying to be a good parent, wanted to see what sandbox she was playing in after she was already there, so clearly being on the cutting edge. But had just asked for her to show me what it was about, what you could do with it, and realized because a lot of the content that I was creating was all horizontal for YouTube. Obviously that doesn't translate over as well if I was putting it on Facebook, starting to experiment a little bit with IGTV and stuff like that. But I asked her to just show me how I could use it more really as an editing tool, because I was like, okay, this is set up ideally for vertical videos, more tuned in for social media. And then I started posting just kind of general content, some mortgage stuff, some personal stuff, and was really blown away by the amount of engagement and people that were interested in mortgages on TikTok of all places. And so then it just started to evolve of creating more original content and not just trends.
And so much so that you even had TikTok reach out to you, which was really awesome. Has that evolved from there, or was that just a one-time thing?
So that lasted for about a year and a half. They had reached out for I would say kind of a campaign that they were working on, Learn on TikTok. Because if you go back to kind of, third quarter, fourth quarter of 2020, all the conversations around TikTok and ByteDance and should it come down and things like that. And so I think TikTok was really trying to kind of legitimize the platform and make it the short form alternative to YouTube. So I was part of a creator group that they called Learn on TikTok to incentivize us through, swag and office meetings with TikTok and coaching and things like that to create more of that type of content and really kind of be what TikTok is now is, yes, there are trends and all of that, but there is a huge resource for short form content. And so that lasted officially until about 2 months ago that we're still kind of in the TikTok creators group, but not specifically for Learn on TikTok with the same kind of, structure around incentives to create that content.
I love it. I love it. And that's cool. I mean, that's something that most creators can't say has ever happened to them. So I applauded you once for this, and I'm going to applaud you again because I still think it's very cool. And actually, it should be more like this. It should be more like
yes. It was like being knighted. It was like we sanction your content. So I've got some sweatshirts, got a really cool cake that had like sprinkles fall out of it and stuff like that around New Year's. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Got to be on a call with Nicki Minaj. It was
Stop it. Did she have any mortgage questions for you?
Oh no, it wasn't me. I was silent and in the audience. It was not.
You got to listen.
I was just happy to be in the room at the back of the room. So
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, I've got more questions, but I want to jump over to Nate, and Nate, do an introduction of yourself and kind of how this has evolved for you. And then we'll move into the meat and potatoes.
So I started video marketing and producing content in sometime in 2018, but it was all Facebook for the most part, and even dabbled in some Instagram as well. Didn't really go hard into Instagram that much, but I've always been a pretty big advocate for short form content. And the way that I kind of developed that is I started off. I mean, I addressed the elephant in the room, like mortgages are boring. Like, how am I going to get people to watch this? And I thought, well, I think speed's probably on my side. So my whole goal was to talk about mortgages in less than a minute. So back in the Facebook days, I had a series that I started, and it was called Mortgage Monday Minute to Win It, where I had to talk about something in the mortgage industry, some kind of mortgage concept, while somebody in the background was doing some kind of like parlor game or like, party game. Like one girl she was stacking cups in the background. She was another LO in my office. We had a bunch of fun with it, got a lot of likes and traction on Facebook. But I started there, and then I don't remember how I even found TikTok, but I think I posted my first one in February of 2020. And my story there is wild. I think it was the second or third video that I posted was a video of myself and my son, my oldest son. And it was doing pretty well. Like the first couple, 3 hours, I think I had like 10,000 views. And my first video had gotten like 70 or 80,000 views in the first week. I was like, man, I have never had that kind of traction anywhere else. So I think it was my second or third video that I'm talking about. It blew up. So I went to bed. It had like 10,000 views, something like that. It was getting some traction. I was pretty pleased with it. I woke up the next morning, and I had put do not disturb on my phone, but I hadn't turned off the notifications for TikTok. So I woke up, and I literally had either 20 or 25,000 followers overnight. Like I woke up to that, and just lines and lines and lines of notification of likes, comments, shares, everything. So I woke up and I was like stressed out. I was like, what do I do with this? So, and then I just leaned into it. I kept creating, and then it was kind of the perfect storm that I had already honed my skills with short form content. So then this platform came around, and then Reels came around, and Shorts on YouTube came around. So it's really playing into the kind of content that I really love to create. And I think the advantage that I had over a lot of other people that are just kind of now getting started in content creation is I'd been doing that for 2 or 3 years prior to that. So I'd really kind of honed my skill, and the learning curve wasn't as steep for me. I was very lucky with that. But then I just kept going, and 2020 hit, and throughout the summer, I kept posting content about mortgages, was blown away. And then I think I got my first deal from TikTok, and it was either June or July of 2020. And then from there, it's been a party ever since.
So if you can scroll Nate's TikTok, you said it was about the third video.
I think it was my third video.
I mean, I remember that video before I knew you. I
Yeah.
remember it coming up on my For You page. And so if you can share that link in the show notes for this one, because it actually, the thing is for that to be your third video, I mean, it was well produced. Like it required jump cuts, right? I mean, it was really awesome. You were way ahead of your time in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I posted that on Facebook and Instagram, and then also YouTube. And truthfully, when I was creating it, it was something for me to put on Facebook for clients, friends, realtors to get to know me and to see the personal side of me. I didn't ever expect it to do anything else on any other platform. It was, I hate to say by accident, but it wasn't like I was posting it. I was like, this is gonna make me famous. Like I was like, this is gonna do well on Facebook, and I'll get some good traction, and people are gonna talk about it. I completely underestimated what it would do everywhere else.
I love it. I love it. And I'm gonna segue here real quick. And there's a couple people in the waiting room now. If you will let them in, but go ahead and turn off their cameras. Just put them in the background, because you know what? Hell, they're here. Let's let them in. Don't hold the people back, because these are big Rebecca and Nate fans. So I don't want to, I don't want to suppress that. Okay, so with that, which I will double check your link in the chat. But Rebecca, then so Nate has a very distinct, clear video that changed his, the future of where he is today. Do you have one video that you can remember that kind of changed yours?
No, I had a couple early ones that popped off. I had one that was start of COVID. And so my son's school, all the teachers, remember when they were like driving through neighborhoods so the kids could wave at them and stuff like that. So I had one that, and then I had one joking about how, the CDC recommended that people stay home. And it was basically, the punchline was, introverts have been waiting for this our entire lives. So I did two of those that did kind of pop off, but I wouldn't say, I certainly didn't wake up to 25,000. I mean, I'm still jealous, Nate. But mine has just been more of building, because I think it kind of comes back to why I always advocate for building a community versus trying to chase virality. So that's how I've had success. So that, is kind of why I preach that route, or not putting the pressure on yourself to have a video go viral, meaning you don't have to have a video go viral in your niche in order to build up a successful following in a community.
I agree. And there's a couple of things I want to follow up with that. So first of all, what Nate did, first of all, both of you were early adopters. Therefore, you probably reaped the reward of being early adopters. I have, and I'm not as big as you guys, but that's the reason why I have more followers. If I started in the last year, it would have been a hell of a lot harder. We all know that, right? Nate, you did it without being mortgage content, and that's what really just skyrocketed you. Rebecca, you've almost leaned into it pretty much from day one. So this question's for both of you. You can both answer as you wish. I preach, you guys know this, we've talked about this, so this isn't new. We're just doing this for the audience, though, is I preach authenticity, and I hate mortgage content. It bores me. You guys are an anomaly. I mean, you guys not only do it well, you do it and make people interested. And so what is your take on that? So when somebody comes to you and says, all right, I've been listening to Jeff for years. He says, don't talk about mortgages. You guys talk about mortgages. What should I do?
Well, thanks for bringing us on as being the devil's advocate for all of your advice.
The best. It's okay, because there's no one way to do it. That's why you're here, yes. Right? Really?
Well, and that's very, very true. There's not one way to do it, because it does come back to authenticity. And I think sometimes, people get wrapped around the axle of copying, and I'm definitely not a fan of copying, because I think that's part of the fun of being there, is being able to show yourself. So if you're doing exactly what somebody else has done, where's the personality in that? Mortgages are boring. It is a very dry subject. So if you can't at least bring your own personality to it, why in the world should they follow you? The reason that probably I stick a little bit more to mortgage than everything, but right, it's all kind of you have great boating content, and I feel like I know the Ozarks now because of you. But the reason I do it is just because I think this is who I am. I mean, I am a mortgage nerd. I get very excited about this stuff and the potential that it can have for people, and I just want people to have those have those little nuggets of wisdom that can impact their life. I mean, I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's true. So I think that's probably why I do lean into that, just because it is something that I find interesting. And also for me, there's a certain amount of fascination of just kind of experimenting. Still I try to present maybe the similar topic in different ways, because it's just fascinating to me to see what maybe resonates with people.
Nate, your take on it?
Well, so I kind of go back and forth on this, but what I did at a very, and how I build a community is the way that I looked at it is so that one popped off, and then I came to realize I need to start creating content that is going to bring in my ideal client and my ideal follower. So if I'm not posting something mortgage related, it's something that the algorithm is going to go find people that I've got some commonality with. So it's developing some kind of person-to-person human connection that we're all starving for right now. specifically back in 2020. So it's a way for me to show my personal side. Admittedly, I get very bored talking about mortgages. So it's also a way for me to enjoy creating content. But I also am a really big believer in people want to do business with people. So every once in a while I show, some of my personal side, but I've kind of pivoted away a little bit from that to where the way that my personal side, my personality shows through is through my content, through my sense of humor, through even the comments that I write. So I've kind of pivoted more towards that. But as far as like, what do you talk about? I mean, it goes back to, again, like people want to do business with people. So I'm not a huge believer in just sticking in your niche. As long as your niche, I've always said, like, our niche is people. Our niche is not real estate. Our niche is not mortgages. Like, at the end of the day, there's a huge population of people out there that want to do business with people. And my job is to capture those eyeballs and then remind them what I do on a daily basis for a living.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you guys have uniquely done that with mortgage content. And it's funny because we just got off a coaching call and I literally was scolding the group. Just got to use the word scolding loosely, but I do this to realtors all the time. I'm like, you guys, we as an industry are the worst spammers on the planet. We spam, and we're hypocrites. We go buy television services and apps, and we pay not to see ads. And then we go on social media and we spam the hell out of the world. Right. And so you guys, again, you're such an anomaly because I personally, if somebody came to me and said, I watch Nate and Rebecca, I want to be like them, I'll tell them, do it, but you have a steep hill to climb because the odds of you hitting it like they have are much harder because they've already done it. Not saying you won't do it, but you're going to struggle to do it. Whereas you have a better odds of hitting an audience because you enjoy pickleball, because you grow tomatoes, right? Because your husband is a professional fisherman, right? Because you can create Michael Jordan, Larry Bird videos, right? That to me, you got a better odds of doing shit. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? It's like, again, there's no one size fits all. That's why we can talk, because although we do it differently, it's both had a massive impact on our careers, which is a great segue because I thought this was absolutely fascinating. I know you guys, obviously, I don't know the third person at all. But here's what happened. 3 people, all big TikTokers, and excuse if there's background noise. My landscapers are here. But you guys all came together, 3 different companies, right? And merged, combined, and now you're a team. And I love this because, most of our audience is real estate, more so than mortgage. And this is like become very common, the EXPers and the realers and all of these brokerages, like it's a big recruiting game. And you guys are a testimony of what this can do. And that is, you guys came together and I assume plan on building a mortgage powerhouse.
You want to start with that one, Nate?
Sure. So throughout my career, I've always been a huge believer and a big fan of surrounding myself with people that we're like-minded. Not only that, but also that they're better than me in a lot of aspects, but then that will hold me accountable and push me. So, and I think we all 3 do that in different aspects of our business, and that's why it works. I mean, like, you don't go ask Michael Jordan to go grab a rebound. You go ask Dennis Rodman to go grab a rebound. You don't go ask Michael Jordan to set a screen so that he can free up Scottie Pippen. It's the other way around. It's what makes a really good team is we all can do one thing at a pretty high level, which is create content. But we also have other talents that when we form them together, like I say it every day on our calls, like what we're building is really something special. It's outside the box for sure. It is it's such a 2022 model. Like this whole like work from home, let's do this remotely. Like it is so 2022. But I think what we've found is that it isn't like other mortgage teams that I've been on, and that's not a knock to them. It's just like, I think I'm going to enjoy this structure more because Rebecca and I and Ariel and I, we all speak the same language when it comes to the way that we build and brand our business. That's the real key right there. But we also have different talents that make each other better.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, I can probably give a really good example. So Ariel posted a video last night about VA construction loans, and it should, I hadn't looked, but it's probably over 1 million already. So she posted it.
Hold that thought. What is Ariel's name on TikTok? So we're going to give her a little pop.
VA loan lady.
VA loan lady. Thank you. VA loan lady.
VA loan lady.
Got it.
And that is literally all that she does. Meaning if she gets a conventional loan or an FHA, she's like, like, who can I give this to? Right. So she had a video, it is at 1 million. And she asked for us she was going to do a live last night, just kind of like a live class on it as soon as she posted the video. And so she asked us to moderate the comments, which, it's nice to have people that process the world the way that you do, that do business the way that you do, to come alongside you and support you. So you don't have to be a one-man band. So what that looked like was Nate and I helping in the comments, all of that kind of stuff. And then she texted us after and she goes, "Oh crap, guys." She's like, "I think it's going viral." Well, it did. So then what today looked like was, basically kind of triaging her inbox, what states people are in, what states am I in that she's not, that people needed, having people on our team being able to follow up with them, to set appointments and all of that kind of stuff. And Nate can speak to this a little bit better, but when you have something like that you have this influx, the majority of us as, kind of single producers, even if maybe we have a support, team with us, like LOAs and processors, it's a lot to be that point person by yourself. So being able to do this helps to distribute that. So again, where our different strengths are, not just in content creation, not just product knowledge, but also the business of doing this business, we can tap into each other's strengths and come together versus trying to be all things to all people.
And before Nate, you comment on this, first of all, she's got 2 TikToks. One, and it's the one that you're mentioning is that one damn ginger, which also VA loan lady. Do you know why she has 2 different TikTok accounts?
Because she was on a live and I think somebody was mentioning stuff that they shouldn't have mentioned, and she got temporarily banned. So she was like, I'll just create another one. I'll just do another one. I'll get out there and I'll just build another one. But the that one damn ginger is her main one.
That video that got 1 million too is not even vertical. I mean, it's got the horizontal look with the black bars. It doesn't have the aesthetic. I mean, what a testament to, it doesn't have to be perfect to go viral. I'm just wondering why she doesn't have it pinned. She probably just hasn't done it yet, but
yeah, she just hasn't done it yet. I mean, what happens when you have how many, let's see, so it doesn't start blasting. Let me turn the sound down. What happens when you have 74,000 likes, 1,300 comments, 7,000 shares? Like, we, as a team, woke up to about 100 different inquiries. And several people just went ahead and started submitting apps. And it's not about the leads. It's about that really spoke to a need that people have. And that's why we're there, to kind of fill that space. But when that happens, because you can't predict it. I mean, like, you can make a video that you think is just absolute fire and it'll be a dud. And then you do some, I mean, I did one on opt-out pre-screen so people could, stop trigger leads, stop lenders from calling them when their credit's pulled. And I did it as a reply to some other video, had come in from a run, definitely did not look camera ready, but on TikTok, you don't have to be perfect. It's not the Instagram aesthetic. And that went several 100,000. And I was like, shoot, I wish I maybe would have put on a little bit of concealer or something if I knew that many people were going to see it. But that's part of why I think it's so fun, is it takes away that pressure that you don't have to always be on or filtered or whatever. Just show up and give value, whether that value is entertainment, whether that value is information, if it's connection, whatever it is, show up as yourself.
Nate, do you ever get concerned about not having concealer on?
All the time.
Listen, I'm just mad that Nate can put on a hat and shoot a video, because like all this hair, it doesn't just happen. So it's either I need to look like a goat, or apparently I need a little bit of prep time.
You and every other woman I've ever talked to about social media and video. I get it. I get it. I'm totally teasing.
There's no halfway. It's either you get me post run and you get what you get, or you might actually get some preparation of the hair.
But I'm glad you do that, because I see that stuff, and honestly, it catches my eye. When you're dialed up, I'm like, this is scripted. When you're not dialed up, I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna watch this. That's just me, and maybe not everybody, but
yeah. And I mean, that's why I think that there's a place for all of it, right? I mean, sometimes people want something that looks a little bit more polished, so it doesn't look like I'm, sitting in my grandma's basement, slinging loans. But at the same time, like Nate said, people want to do business with people. So yeah, I mean, I'm a real person. I'm right here. This is what I do every day, and I'm damn good at it. But what I look like really doesn't matter. But that's why I do it in all kinds of different formats, because people identify with different deliveries.
What's your guys' cadence? Do you have a certain cadence of how many videos you want to post a day or a week or whatever?
I mean, back in 2020, when I was on my content heater, that's what I call 2020, my content heater, but it was 1 in the morning, 1 around noon, and then 1 in the evening. Now that is a lot.
3 a day.
3 a day. So that's how I grew. Now what my focus is, now that I'm kind of settled and I'm getting some better systems in place, because back to what Rebecca and what we're dealing with, what we are working with on aerial stuff today. I had something similar happen to me in the fall of 2020, and it exposed a huge flaw in my system to where like I could not handle the influx. I had 30 something pre-approvals in one day. Like I don't have that. I don't have the capability of that. I didn't have the capacity of it. So I had, I spent the next few months like revamping my system, and Rebecca is phenomenal with systems. So even in the last month, like I've learned so much just with that. And now I feel like, before I was driving like a souped up Mustang, and now I feel like I'm about to crank up a Ferrari. So I'm pretty excited about that. What was your original question?
Cadence, like what is like?
I mean, the thing with these short form content apps and just that strategy, what I've found is that you really need to do 1 a day. That's the consistent, like it sounds so cliche, and what I've learned in the last year is like a lot of these cliches, specifically marketing and content creation cliches, they're correct. They're right.
They're not cliches.
No, they're not cliches. They are fundamentals. Yeah. It's like location is not a real estate cliche. It's a fundamental. Yeah. Now with the consistency thing, like it's think of it. I try to tell people, like, think of it like if Budweiser just did an ad during the Final Four in the Super Bowl. Like that's not going to be that impactful. That's why they run ads all the time. Yeah. So that's how they have consistency, and they're at golf tournaments, they're at concerts, they're everywhere. So it's about getting more coals in the fire. And again, it goes back to what Rebecca said, is like, you don't really, like, when some videos are going to do well, but every once in a while there's some, it's like, I had no idea it was going to do that. And by you consistently creating content, you give yourself more swings at the plate for something like that to happen.
Yeah. Don't focus on perfection, focus on consistency, because it's usually the imperfect ones that perform the best.
Yeah, it's Rebecca, done is better than perfect, basically.
100%. And what's your cadence?
Once a day for the most part. I mean, it's kind of at that point where, like, I did post one this morning because I do edit hers. But if there's kind of like a crunch time, or if I'm on vacation or something like that, no, I'm not, because it's at that point that for the most part, if I put a video out, there's going to be, a booked call from it or something, which is wonderful. But it's at that point where I can kind of, use that to lead flow, basically, from the standpoint of kind of what's the capacity. So like when we were moving companies, I wasn't doing it as much because I wanted to make sure that I would be able to show up for those people and not be distracted, because, I was mid-transition. But daily is I would absolutely say that my average is daily.
And it's a huge blessing. I mean, we essentially have an on and off switch with our business. So like, if we are not where we need to be, or like we already, have enough business, or like we're getting overwhelmed, or we're going on vacation, or we're switching companies or something, we can dial it back. And then when we're ready, we flip the switch back on and go back into content creation mode. It's a huge blessing. It's a huge, I mean, it's a massive amount of freedom.
Not to mention for people like you and for anybody who's done it consistently over a period of time, during those lulls of creation, you could just repost old stuff. And a lot of times that hasn't been seen by any of your audience anyway. So there's just a hack basically. Is there a little in-house competition between the three of you about who's going to get the most followers, most likes, most?
No, no, not really, because all of us do it differently. I mean, Nate and I are trying to compete on YouTube, and I would like to say that I do have more followers. So 300, read it and weep. But anyway, no, we really don't, especially because I think kind of, sort of the home base, especially because of TikTok, the goal isn't more followers, more isn't better. It's connecting with the right people that we can bring value to. So whether that's 55, whether that's 130, whether that's 250 or whatever, all of it is great. And everybody that there matters. I mean, it's kind of like saying like, oh, you had a great backyard barbecue, but would it have been better if more people were there? Well, no, I had some phenomenal conversations and I'm thankful for the ones that I had.
Well, and it's, like touching on what she said, where we all three have different like capabilities. I've said this to Ariel and said this to Rebecca before. Ariel she is not the best content creator. Don't get me wrong. She can create really good content, but she can connect with her community better than any other real estate professional on TikTok. She has got the veteran demographic absolutely dialed in, and it's
as a civilian.
Yeah.
They had it like she got invited to the barbecue. Like as a civilian, she's allowed to be there because she's earned her way there.
And I'm learning how to connect with my community a little bit better because of her. And that is what is like impressive and inspiring with me. Rebecca's probably the mix between us, where she can make some really, really high level content, but she's also really good at connecting with her community. Admittedly, like that is not something that I'm awesome at. And I'm working on that, but I can make some pretty good content. But seeing how they work helps me get better, and them seeing how the other two work, like we all just make each other better because we're all very good at specific things, but we all have some commonality when it comes to content.
I love that. So basically the way I interpret that is Nate's the clown, Rebecca's like the scholar, and your partner is she's like the social butterfly.
Sort of. So what we did coming together as a team, because I brought some of my team. We've added on people that we know and all of that kind of stuff, and have grown pretty quickly. But what we did was that we did some personality, like disc profiling, Enneagram. And then because when we were envisioning this, we said we were coming together kind of like the Avengers. So it's not like that there was like the mortgage creator team or the mortgage mentor team. It wasn't that. All of us have our individual brands and our own individual ways of doing business, but how do we come together for shared resources? So that's what we started saying, that we were the Lender Avengers. So as the Lender Avenger team, we had everybody on our team do that testing to then kind of see how they integrate and where those strengths are. And I think it's been fascinating just to understand the perspective that people are coming from. And like, there was something, I don't even remember, what was it last night that I said in our chat? And you said that that's the most Rebecca thing you've ever said.
You asked Ariel what her password strategy was.
Okay. Yes. Okay. There we go. See, there we go. So he goes, that is the most Rebecca thing ever. But I was like, but that's me. That's my personality. Is I'm like, I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to make sure that it's right. Like, here we go, And so she was needing something. And I was like, well, what's your password? How do you not know your password? What's your password strategy? And she's like, I don't know. Face ID.
She said face ID.
Face ID.
Like whereas like Rebecca would have a stroke if you're like, hey, you have to rely on I
was like, hope is not a strategy. Okay. So, but what is great is coming together. And it was something I think I replied back. I was like, I'm free to be me in this group. Like, it's just like, I don't have to be anybody else than who I am. So it's been really fun to see how that layers, and where maybe what some of my weaknesses are, somebody else picks it up, and vice versa.
You're a high D, high S, aren't you?
High D, high C.
High C. Okay. Is that the analytic one?
Yep.
Okay. Then I had the S and the C off then. Okay. Good.
It's the, so Nate, fun fact, Nate and I are actually the same, but our Enneagrams are different.
I could see some I and I could see some more I in you, Nate.
I'm a good actor.
The funny thing is that the business coach that's running this with us, I've worked with him for years, and so he did, the exact same disc, like the platform that he uses, the exact same test. I think it was 2014, and I was DI. So for the longest time, I'm like, I'm a DI, and it's like, then when it tested, and he was like, you're not. And I'm like, I think it's wrong. He goes, you're not anymore. Think about where you were in 2014 and think about where you are now and how different you approach business. Because I'm not doing networking events. I'm not doing lunch and learns. I'm not doing, realtor lunches or any of that kind of stuff and I'm the happiest that I've been because this I can do really, really well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, going off of what she said about doing all these personality tests, this isn't necessarily content related, but it's team building related. It's really refreshing I think it's kind of cool to build a team like this. Because again, we're molding big personalities. Like if we wanted to, we could all go and do our own thing. We are big enough personalities and independent enough that we could do that very easily. And we've been successful in the past doing that. But we're all coming together and kind of molding together. And I mean, quite frankly, like that's one of our strategies going forward is like, if you want to join our team, you are going to take this test because we want to know more about you and see how you fit. And I think that's so refreshing to like, really build a team around this kind of like one joint personality versus, hey, we want you to join our team because it's just pure profit. We can find pure profit anywhere. Mm-hmm. Versus like we are building a team that will actively work better as a team. And I think that's what's really cool about what we're doing right here.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's definitely a different vibe. I mean, like I keep saying it is really fun I am excited that this feels fun and exciting again. And it's because of the people that I'm doing it with.
I can sense it. And Nate, you said big personalities, but I'm going to correct that and say it's big personalities behind the camera based on what you guys are telling me. Because if you walked into a networking room, you're probably much quieter than you actually let off.
Yes. Because people come up and they're like, hey, let's do a TikTok. And I'm like, I don't dance and I don't TikTok in public.
I love it. I mean, and this is why we came together a couple of years ago. I think both of us, and I approached both of you because all of us, including your partner, we're anomalies in our industry. I mean, it's a unique industry, and I love what you're doing because there's not many people doing it. And you guys are going to find yourself saying this too. Like I say too, because when I'm interviewing recruits or talking to prospective people, I'm like, listen, like we're covering a very small niche and I know my niche really well. And you're either going to love us or you're going to look at me like I've got three heads and not understand. And that's okay. Like right. I understand my niche and that's exactly what you guys are doing. And I think so. The last question I have for you, because anybody listening to this is thinking to themselves a couple of things. They got some good feedback on creating content, but as far as growth is concerned, because there's a lot of real estate agents that have downlines, there's a lot of real estate agents that might have teams that want to grow teams. There's mortgage people that want to have teams. What is your advice? And you kind of alluded to it, Nate, a little bit, like, you're going to make them take the personality test, right. But the first thing I would think if I'm an outsider listening to this is, oh man, I'm going to have to be on TikTok if I want to join their team. Is that true? Do they have to have a camera presence? I mean, and I'll admit it, like I tell people, you come join our team, I'm going to be pushing you to use BombBomb. I'm going to be pushing you to get in front of the camera because I want you to differentiate. That's why you're joining our team, right? Right. What is your take on that as it relates to advising someone who wants to emulate what you guys are doing?
You want to go?
I think it's a two-part thing. One is, yes, if you're going to be part of this group, this is what this group is like here, and it's more than just like some nice words as far as a mission statement, but it's kind of, here's the group identity, right? This is how we roll. This is what it is. It's, it's buttoned up or it's not, or it's this or it's that, but like, this is who we are. That's not going to change. Secondly, from the standpoint, I don't expect for somebody to necessarily be on TikTok or play in the same sandbox, but I think yes, it is it helps with just kind of that strategy to understand where people are coming from, to understand that because we do put ourselves out there, that people naturally will come to us with really oddball situations. They're like, you're this great beacon of light of mortgage knowledge that seems to know how to do random things. So we want somebody that does play in those spaces, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, because it's a different way of approaching this.
Loser.
Did she? Yeah, I was going to say, is that her?
Yeah.
All right, you pick it up then.
So, I mean, you kind of touched on this earlier when you were talking about how people have an uphill climb if they're trying to emulate us. In one, that's like super flattering, and I mean this like in the nicest way possible. Like, and you kind of said this earlier. Like, there's a really good chance you're not going to catch me. And that's not because I'm better. Like, there's probably better creators out there, but there's a really good chance that you may not catch me, and that's fine.
There's about a less than a 0.01% chance that anyone's going to catch you.
But it's all that's, the followers, like, that's kind of, it's great, but it's a number. You know what I mean?
It's vanity.
Right. Exactly. So I think where a lot of people go wrong is they start comparing themselves to others, and what I want to dissuade people, and I want them to set proper expectations and understand, like, you're probably never going to get to 200,000 like Nate. But man, like, if you rewound the clock 2 years and you told me that I had like 10,000 followers on TikTok, I'm like, that is incredible. And that is something that's very easily attainable no matter what niche you're in. And so I think that you really need to like hamper your expectations and understand that, like, you can still create a very, very successful following, a very successful platform, and it doesn't have to be massive, relatively speaking, like what I've done or what Rebecca's done or even Ariel. But at the end of the day, like, you're putting content out there to connect with somebody. So before you start creating content, you need to ask yourself, like, who are you trying to connect with? Is it a consumer? Is it other realtors? Is it other loan officers? Like, who is your customer avatar? And then start making content towards that person.
I love it. And I'll even take it one step further on what you just said. And this is the way I break it down. If you think back 10 years ago, how did you connect with people? You had to belong to a chamber, you belonged to a BNI, maybe a church group, your SOI, your friends and family, and that totaled maybe 200 solid connections, maybe only 50 strong connections. And even if your following's 500 and you've got, you should have 5,000 on Facebook, you might only have 500 on Instagram, you might have 500 on TikTok. Just put it in that perspective. You have way more connections you've ever been able to have. Keep going, because it will grow and it'll change. It could change your life.
It's about, I mean, it's as simple as reminding people what you do for a living. And no matter how big your space is and your audience is, like that, you can't put like, it's so powerful that when I go to sleep at night, somebody's probably watching my video, or like somebody's probably telling their friend about my video or sending their friend my video. Like, how cool is that when you really break it down? Like, that is so cool when you think about it. And like, and my kids have gotten into Dude Perfect. Like, they're small kids. They love watching Dude Perfect. And they sat there and they were mad like a week ago. Like, they haven't released a new video in a while. Like, where's the new video? And it was funny because I started thinking, it was like, I think I told Rebecca and Ariel this. I was like, you realize, like, people probably say this about us, and they're grown humans, but they're like, man, like, Nate hasn't posted in a while, or Rebecca hasn't posted in a while, or I haven't seen Ariel's videos in a while. And that's like a super cool thing to have, going on in your life.
Yeah, I agree. It's life-changing. I mean, and I think all of you could say this. Rebecca's not here to say it now. She got tired of us, just had too much of us. It will change your life. It's changed my life. I know it has changed yours. I know it's changed Rebecca's. And you keep doing this stuff. We're going to bring her in just to end this thing. It's profound. So you guys are, Nate is the mortgage creator. Rebecca is the .mortgage mentor, the mortgage mentor. And then Ariel is that one damn ginger. If you're not following them, you probably are, but go check out their stuff. Look at what they've done. Look at how they've kind of brought this together. Welcome back, Rebecca. It's okay. We picked it up right where you went silent. Let's end this with kind of a parting thought from both of you. Nate, I'll let you go first, since Rebecca came back in, and then Rebecca, you take us home.
I mean, ultimately it comes down and, you know, I've taught social media classes for realtors and even a couple other loan officers and insurance agents mixed in there, all industry professionals, real estate industry professionals. And we all kind of say the same thing, is like, you just got to go out and do it. And it sounds like horrible advice and just lazy advice, but it's like anything else. You have to get some reps under your belt. It's good. Like, if you look at my first video ever, like back on Facebook, I had my phone propped on against a coffee mug, and I looked like a 60-year-old on Facebook, like I'm like this, you know. And it horrible production, and it was still better than not posting a video. That's the way you got to look at it. Get some reps under your belt, and find your tribe.
Rebecca, closing
And
thoughts?
mine's a little bit shorter, but same sentiment, which is do the damn video. So you have to be willing to be bad at something in order to be great at it. And you just have to show up.
I love it. And you see what just happened to Rebecca. She just got kicked off. She jumped back on her mobile. Like she's just moving. She's pivoting when technology fails her. And that's what happens.
It's going to come out no matter what. We're going to make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nate, by the way, I noticed your hat at Top of the Rock, as in Branson.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I went there last year. Great
Yeah.
place.
Pretty awesome place. Yeah, it is. It is. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on today. I definitely will do this again. Maybe we should bring Ariel on, and hopefully from the people that listen to this, they all go follow, and she reaches out to you guys. Well, actually, it's not going to have any impact on her since she just went viral. But maybe the 5 extra follows she'll notice, and we'll help her out. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I look forward to staying in touch. I look forward to watching your journey and growth. And we're going to stay in touch.
Oh, man.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care.